When you like Ventura TV Appliance on Facebook, it's nice. But when you love the Samsung big screen we deliver, it's even better. Our website is cool, and it's a good place to start. But you really should touch the merchandise before you buy. Time for that upgrade to an HD 3D web-enabled Samsung TV. Get the best selection, price, and service in town without waiting. Come in to Ventura TV Appliance and touch the merchandise today.
Hi, I'm John Mallos. Welcome to this live edition of Connect with me on the showroom floor at Ventura TV on this day. Glad to have you along. Today it's a Your Community Day, and what we're talking about is gas prices, cap and trade, AB 32. What does it all mean to you and your pocketbook? 436-ME-TV, option 11. We're back in a moment. Interesting program today here on Connect with me on MeTV Fresno, talking about your pocketbook and how much you're going to be paying for gas in the near future here in 2015 and the coming months, days, weeks, whatever, whenever cap and trade AB 32 kicks in. It passed several years ago. We'll get into that topic in a moment. But first, you're watching us on Comcast channel 187, 43.6, 13.1. And later today, you can see up on your screen, we're at 2 o'clock in the afternoon on 13.6 YouTube. And then 8 o'clock tonight, Biz TV at 13.5. Before we get started on cap and trade and everything else that we want to talk about in terms of gas prices, we're going to kind of change direction a little bit and talk about high-speed rail, because that is a hot topic right now. High-speed rail, the groundbreaking took place yesterday. Go to the videotape. You know what high-speed rail looks like. We've showed this animation over and over again. That's the finished product, my friends. But yesterday, Governor Jerry Brown was in Fresno. He actually held the groundbreaking ceremony at Tulare and G Street. Several members of the Assembly, including the governor, signed a rail that was there. However, State Assemblyman Jim Patterson said, "This is nothing more than a boondoggle." The former mayor of Fresno compared the high-speed rail system to the downtown stadium being a white elephant and draining money from the city fund.
We all support progress. What we cannot support is financial foolishness and government deceit. And that is what this high-speed rail project is all about. Nothing the government has promised the people, either at the ballot box or afterward, is coming true. It won't go as fast as they say. It will not cost what they promised it would cost. They're tearing out thousands of acres of prime ag land, and they don't have all of the money to build the project, and there's no private money yet that can be identified. So what we're seeing here is basically a phony groundbreaking. This is a stunt, and it covers over the hard facts that this is a financially irresponsible plan, and it goes against all of the approvals that the voters gave them when they passed the proposition that authorized high-speed rail. The governor and the legislature are using raw political power in order to have their way. It is coincidental with the governor's being sworn in. He gives a State of the State speech, and then he comes to Fresno and turns a shovel without any idea where they're going to get enough money to complete the project. Never mind the fact that there are still litigation ongoing. Never mind the fact that the federal government has said there just isn't going to be any more money, despite the fact that he's taking cap and trade money to throw into this, when our own legislative analyst says that that is literally an illegal use of cap and trade. So this is just an evidence of a governor that's gotten elected and then re-elected, and he's just using raw power to bulldoze his way through the wishes of the people. What leadership should do is to recognize the facts and then go back to the people of California and say, we asked permission for one thing, but we're not delivering on that. So we're going to replan it and revote it. There's a reason why the governor and the legislature will not do that, because they know a $100 billion project probably will have a hard time at the ballot box. They know that admitting that there's not enough private money coming, or that they're going to have to rely on billions of federal dollars that may not come, or find ways to tax people in California to finish the project. They tell the truth, the voters may very well turn it down. But I would think that elected leaders like the governor and others should recognize the facts are not in their favor, and that they should go back to the voters, tell us the truth, and ask for permission.
Normally, we don't play a soundbite that long, but that was Jim Patterson, the former mayor of Fresno and current state assemblyman, talking about high-speed rail being a boondoggle and comparing it to the downtown stadium here in Fresno as to being a white elephant, that there isn't enough money, it's going to throw us into more debt, and the state of California has no idea where they're going to get the money to finish the project, is basically Patterson's message. And he was one of the strongest opponents against high-speed rail yesterday, aside from Steve Brandow, the city councilman who joined us here on the program yesterday as well. Time to switch gears, and I think kind of similar topic here. In case you haven't noticed, in the past few months or so, gas prices have dropped, but that may be changing this year due to a new law that passed after January the 1st. I want to take you to the graphic here, my friends. For now, the gas prices are holding steady in spite of AB 32. That's the bill that passed several years ago. It's called Cap and Trade, that imposes a gas tax here in California. The gas tax kicked in after the first of the year, as I said. Yet the price of gas has dropped the past couple of days. Diesel went down by 4 cents and gasoline by 2 cents overnight. In the last 2 days, gasoline dropped by 6 cents a gallon to distributors. Also, it's interesting to note that a barrel of crude oil is still under $50 right now. 6 months ago, it was well over $100. Let's roll the videotape, my friends. AB 32 was passed as part of a plan to raise prices at the gas pump and to use that extra money to help reduce the air pollution here in the city of Fresno, so politicians say. In reality, the gas tax could raise up to $2 billion that will more than likely go into the state's general fund, and some believe it will be used to help build high-speed rail. That seems like a total deception, right? Who sets the prices on gas tax? Members of the California Air Resources Board. I tried to reach one of those members earlier yesterday and the day before. He declined to appear on the program, but live in our studio right now to talk about this is Scott Cain. He is the owner of West Hills Fuels Incorporated. That's a company that provides fuel to farmers and to truckers. He's here to talk about AB 32, the effects it might have on you and your pocketbooks, and you might see the effects, believe it or not, at the supermarket. That's right. 436-MeTV option 11. And remember, we're going to put up the question of the day for you after the break. We're going to come back with our program here on Connect with Me in just a moment.
Attention all units. We have reports of 2 motorcycle cops protecting California's highway.
That's for us, good buddy.
The Men of Chips are on MeTV.
Hi, I'm John Baker. I'm John Baker. It's Officer Baker.
He's the blonde one.
Hi there.
Officer Poncherello, man.
Frank Poncherello.
Oh, I'm Frank Poncherello.
And he's the one who's Eric Estrada.
There's no way I wouldn't remember a name like that.
Catch the blonde one and the one who's Eric Estrada on
Now on
Chips.
MeTV Fresno, Xfinity 187.
Back here on the program, Scott Cain is here from, and I want to get the company right, it's West Hills Fuels Incorporated, right?
That's correct.
All right. So what company is that, by the way? Explain what the company does and how you formed it, because you're the owner.
Right, I'm one of the owners. We formed this, we're a petroleum trucking and management company. And we manage a company called West Hills Oil that was started over 50 years ago by my father-in-law, Ron Lee. And so we provide trucking and management services, and primarily to farmers and commercial users on the west side of the valley, but we also have some retail business where we deal directly with the public.
Yeah. Hey, Scott, I want to put up the question of the day because it's a big question.
Okay.
And there it is right there. The question of the day is, do you think the gas tax money will be used to help clean the air in the city of Fresno? If you have the answer, my friends, if you're out there watching, connect with me. If you're a viewer, that is our question of the day. Call in and give your thoughts. 436-ME-TV, option 11. Do you think that gas tax money is going to go to clean up the... I mean, I have been in Fresno since 1996, and the air has gotten dirtier and dirtier and dirtier every year. So how are they going to use that money to clean up the air? They're not going to use it to clean up the air. I've heard that they're going to use it to complete high-speed rail, at least try to. I don't know what you've heard on your end.
Well, I went to the CARB website yesterday, and there's already money allocated towards high-speed rail from the cap and trade fees. And this isn't fiction anymore. On the 1st of January at midnight, across the board, the refineries that we purchase fuel from went up 10 cents a gallon on gasoline.
Here in the state, right?
Here in the
Statewide.
state, 13 cents a gallon on diesel. And
goodness.
However, that's now been swamped by crude oil falling, and so the 10 cents is still in the price of gas, but it's not as visible if we were at $5 a gallon gas and it went up to $5.10.
Well, see, so you bring up a good point. The fact that a barrel of crude oil is still below $50 and dropping, it seems like, every day, we're not seeing those effects by cap and trade at the gas pump yet, right?
Well, they're built in there. The stations are passing along the 10 cents a gallon.
But we're not noticing it.
Exactly, you aren't noticing it. Because the price of crude oil is falling to offset that. The price of crude is falling faster than they can raise the taxes and fees on gas.
Well, it seems like the price of crude oil, too, is affecting the stock market to a certain extent the last couple of days, at least last week or so. It just keeps dropping and dropping and dropping. But once cap and trade, AB 32, fully kicks in, okay, how is that going to affect, in your opinion, gas prices at the pump? How will that affect the consumer?
I think first of all, it's already kicked in. Gas prices would be 10 cents lower right now without cap and trade.
When I say kicked in, though, I mean when it fully takes effect and we're going to see a 20, 30, 40 cent hike in gas, how's that going to affect your business? How is that going to affect the trucking business? How will that affect the consumer?
Well, it affects every aspect of the economic activity here in the Valley. First of all, it hits the consumer. When they fill up at the pump, they're going to pay the cap and trade fees from 10 cents. I've seen as high estimates of 70 cents a gallon by 2020. So they're going to be hitting their pocketbook, and everybody knows the effects of that. When you fill up your car, and it used to be $20 and now it's $60 to fill up your car. So that hits families' pocketbooks immediately. Then you have the other aspects of our economic activity that are governed by, I like to call, energy. I feel that I'm in the energy business.
Explain that, if you would.
Well, petroleum products power so many aspects of our economy.
Such as?
The lights.
Okay.
The majority of our power is generated by petroleum-based products. We're trying to move away from that, but the fact of the matter is that crude oil and coal and things like that generate a large portion of our power. So, and then you have transportation. All my trucks run on diesel, and so when and that's even higher, the cap and trade on diesel is higher on diesel than it is on gasoline. It's 13 cents a gallon versus 10 cents a gallon.
So most of the trucks that you supply fuel to are running on diesel, is what you're saying?
Yes, and my farmers.
Your farmers, yeah.
Exactly. My farmers, all of their equipment runs on diesel. And
I want to roll some videotape here of some trucking. You mainly deal with truckers and farmers, and this is going to affect the trucking industry to a certain extent because this is how we transport our food.
Exactly.
So
that's how we transport a vast majority of our goods and services.
Our new cars.
Exactly. Exactly.
Other goods that we transport across the state of California.
And
Right.
so every gallon that they're putting in their tanks is being essentially, it's not a tax, it's a fee, so it's hidden, and that's 13 cents a gallon now, and who knows what it'll be by 2020, like you said, when everything kicks
Yeah,
in.
see, it's going to affect the logging industry. It could affect other parts and aspects of our economy across the board. And so will consumers maybe see a price jump at the supermarket because of the gas going up? Is that how it works?
Exactly. Those additional costs of trucking and transportation eventually get into the products that they're transporting, which then shows up on the shelves of the grocery stores and retail outlets, and in the form of higher prices because transportation fees have gone up.
So how can we be duped? The people of California be so far behind the 8 ball. I mean, this is a false narrative that AB 32 is going to go to clean up the air. How can we let this go by? How can we let this happen? We as voters, we as residents of this state, let the politicians do this to us and create this false negative, or narrative, I should say. The money's not going to clean up the air. How can we let that happen?
Well, I guess we have to look to Sacramento. It's the politicians that are controlling the purse strings and the laws that are governing these aspects. I mean, everybody wants clean air.
Sure.
You know, like you said, the air in Fresno has been getting dirtier and dirtier since we've been here. And I grew up in the valley.
Mm-hmm.
But it's the insidious part about the cap and trade is that it's hidden. It's invisible now. When prices jumped 10 cents on the 1st of January, I now no longer really have a way to see how much cap and trade is being built into the prices. Most of the refiners are just including it as a cost of doing business in California, and they're including it in the price. Whereas when you think of things like state excise tax on fuel, which is 36 cents a gallon.
What? Really?
Yes, you're paying right now, this minute, at least 60 cents a gallon in taxes and fees on the gasoline that you're purchasing at the pump. At least 60 cents.
State excise taxes is what, 36 cents?
36 cents a gallon. Now, when I get invoiced for a load of fuel from a refinery, there's a line item on there that says 36 cents a gallon state excise tax. And then when I sell the fuel to my customers, there's a line item that says 36 cents a gallon state excise tax.
Does Nevada have that? No.
I'm not sure what Nevada has, but I can state factually that California has that.
Yeah.
And if I charge 37 cents a gallon, that's illegal because the tax is only 36. Well, now with cap and trade, there is no line item that says cap and trade, you know, is 10 cents a gallon. It's built into the price they're charging me, and it's all effectively hidden. There's a market for cap and trade, and you can find out what cap and trade traded for yesterday, whether it was 10 cents or 9 cents or whatever. But that's all invisible to the end consumer now.
Right, but the California, I got to take a break here, Scott, but the California Air Resources Board is going to set the price. It could be, like Scott mentioned, it could be anywhere from 17 cents a gallon to 70 cents a gallon higher because of cap and trade by the end of 2020. And so that's just in 5 years or so. Let's put up the question of the day before we go to break one more time. Do you think that cap and trade AB 32 money, the extra money going to pay for gas, will clean up the air here in the city of Fresno? If you say yes or no, offer up an opinion. 436-MeTV option 11. We're back with our program in just a moment.
The Ballad of Andy and Barney. Andy and Barney were lawmen, bravest you ever did see. Warned every crook in the record book to stay out of Mayberry. They were the law.
Yes, they were the law, and they didn't know fear.
The Andy Griffith Show.
I guess to sum it up, you could say there's 3 reasons why there's so little crime in Mayberry. There's Andy, and there's me, and baby makes 3.
Now on MeTV Fresno.
Frigidaire. We introduced the first home freezer, the first pulsator agitator washer, And now we introduce the Frigidaire Orbit Clean dishwasher, designed with a unique wash arm that gives you 4 times more water coverage for a consistently better clean. Frigidaire, over 90 years of legendary innovation.
See the full line of Frigidaire appliances at Ventura TV Electronics and Appliances.
Back here on Connect with me on MeTV Fresno, a call coming in for Scott Cain. Go ahead, caller.
Oh, I just want to make a comment that the California Air Resources Board is just kind of, well, kind of like the EPA. They're just kind of way out of line.
Yeah.
They that thing with the trucks.
Yeah.
That truckers had to get new trucks. They made sure that they didn't have to get rid of their motorhomes. That was one of their things when they were doing that. They right now with the cap and trade thing, that's just another tax that unelected officials are being able to tax the public.
Yeah.
And I don't know what these what the salaries are of the Air Resources Board, but the other day there was some guys, oh, it's not not that much money.
Yeah.
But if they're making $100,000 a year, what the heck's another 10 cents a gallon?
Yeah. Well,
where the public is getting screwed. Okay, thank you.
Hey, thank
Bye.
you very much. Yeah, I think that's one thing. I think the politicians are not thinking about those people here in the state of California that are on a fixed income. 10 cents a gallon doesn't sound like a lot, but for those retired people that are on fixed incomes, it is a huge deal. I do want to take another phone call, but I just want to put the question of the day up on the screen one more time because I find it really interesting that the politicians continue to deceive the people of California. Good morning, caller. You're on Connect with Me. What's your question or comment or whatever?
Okay, a real quick question. Well, a comment. There's no way with this taxed gas it's going up, well, they already did in January, that it's going to be used to clean the air. I can bet you it's not going to be. Now, the whole problem is that we've let government kind of dictate everything as far as how much to put of gas and whatever, The people are still going to have to put gas to go to work no matter what.
Yeah.
Whether it be 10 cents, 15 or whatever, But the thing is that it's a political thing. That's all it is. They got lobbyists over there that they got to answer to and whatever. And the consumer takes a hit, number one. His business, as far as diesel trucks, I understand. I mean, diesel trucks, no matter if they go on the road and they take the food or whatever, deliver it, they're going to have to pass it on to the consumer.
Yeah.
So you can't blame the truckers or the businesses or taking all across, across town for what they're putting on the tax. But the tax thing, forget it. They're never going to clean the air. Number one. What we need to do is
caller,
a lot of these old cars.
Hey, caller, caller,
yes.
I just want to. We're short on time, so do you have a question for Scott Cain? Do you have a question that you want to pose to him?
Yeah, a question is: do you think are they going to pass the tax bill to help the environment? I say no, so I'm directing it to you.
Thank you.
Well, it becomes interesting how they define how they're helping the environment. They can use whatever thread of logic to say, okay, we're gonna use AB 32 funds to fund the high-speed rail under the premise that it's going to take people away from driving their cars onto this high-speed rail and pollute less, therefore we can take these funds. You can make all kinds of threads of logic to fund whatever you want with this money, and that's my fear, and that's exactly what they're going to do.
Are they deceiving us? Are they using deception?
I think if you ask the politicians, they would say no, they're not being deceptive. They're funding these projects that have this thin thread of logic of cleaning the air. There's been AB 32 money spent on drought relief. Okay, well, I'm all for drought relief. My farmers are suffering.
Well, why don't they just come out and say it?
Yeah, exactly. Really, what's the tie-in between the drought relief and AB 32 funds?
Right.
And that's my point, is that this becomes a shell game of moving money. Once the politicians find out that there's money through AB 32 or lottery funds or whatever, they're going to move it to wherever they want to spend the money.
Right.
And that's the fallacy of this.
Yeah, there is AB 32. Cap and Trade Air Resources Board will determine now how high the tax is going to be, anywhere from 17 cents a gallon to 70 cents a gallon by 2020. So we're going to see a spike no matter what. We got a phone call here for Scott Cain. Good morning, caller. You're on Connect with Me. Your question, please.
Yes, actually, it's a comment and one question at the end. Once again, this proves that the politicians are lying, as basically people are not dumb anymore. There's internet. There's all kinds of people that are aware of what's going on. In 2008, they lied. They said consumption of the oil has gone up, the petroleum has gone up, and that's what prices went up to $5. That was a bunch of lies, because I turned around and asked my coworkers, have you been driving more than usual every day since, let's say, last year? Nobody says yes. So that was a lie. Again, this time when we had a little bit of a price hike just about a year ago, they said the same thing. Consumption has gone up. Yep. Let me ask you this. How come all of a sudden it's gone down to 50%? Did I drive 50% compared to last year or 3 years ago or 5 years ago, 50% less? Absolutely no. So we prove it again to Mr. Politicians, you bunch of liars.
Yeah.
Okay, so people should unite and believe that these guys are not telling the truth. The question is, all these tax monies are legit.
All the tax money is what? Legit. Is the tax money legit?
I don't really know what that means, legit or not. These are all laws that are requiring us to pay these fees and taxes. So legit in that sense, yes, they're legal, but
interesting that this didn't go to a vote, though, because had it gone to a vote, it would have been voted down. So the state legislature decided to, okay, they're. And, I know we get into this debate, Democrats and Republicans, but it is controlled by Democrats up in Sacramento. And so they're going to debate and say, yeah, let's raise the tax. Let's just raise it. And
and I think the caller makes a good point. The fact of the matter is that, if I can diverge into some economics here, the demand for gasoline is very, very inelastic, meaning the price can fluctuate, and you and I still have to drive to work. So when we had last year a price spike of 25–30%, gasoline consumption only went down 5%. It's very, we drive to work whether gas is $5 a gallon or $3 a gallon.
Or $10.
Or $2.
Or $10
exactly.
a gallon.
Exactly.
All right. Caller, what's your question, please? You're on Connect with Me.
Hello, yes. How many air resources boards do we have to have in order to have a clean environment? We have the Cap and Trade Air Resource. We have the Valley Air Resource. They passed a proposition a few years ago that said that if we get fined by EPA, that they could pass it on in our car registration, which they did, to about $12.9 million. And now you have a Cap and Trade Air Resources Board. How many redundant agencies do we need?
I don't know. That's a good question. I'm not sure if Scott can answer that, because we have a California Air Resources Board, we have a Valley Air Resources Board, and we still have dirty air.
There is a line of bureaucrats from here to Washington that all have their piece in the environmental pie. The Air Resources, the local San Joaquin Valley Air Pollution Control District is under the purview of the California Air Resources Board, which is under the purview of the federal EPA.
Right.
And all those entities are intermingled, and they all play a piece in, supposedly cleaning the air. And I will tell you, as a business owner, the regulatory burden that these agencies place on all of the businesses,
including yours,
including mine, is becoming so immense that businesses are leaving the state of California. That's the ultimate economic impact to us.
Will you leave the state?
Unfortunately, no. I'm tied here. My business is located here, and I provide a good that is necessary to farming and trucking on the west side. So,
yeah. All right, we're talking with Scott Cain of West Hills Fuels Incorporated here in the Central Valley. He's been here for many years. His father-in-law started a company that he oversees now, and it's a great company, and it does a good service here in the Central Valley. We're going to be back here on Connect with Me. Let's put up that question of the day one more time, creating some buzz here this morning on the program. Do you think the gas tax money will be used to help clean the air here in Fresno or the Central Valley? It's part of AB 32, cap and trade. The gas tax has already been imposed. It's now law, California law, since January the 1st. 436-ME-TV, option 11. Back in a moment.
Ladies' Night was started in his honor. Bar stools pulled themselves out for him. The only thing Chuck Norris is afraid of is her. Cheers is the most memorable bar in the world. You may not always watch comedy, but when you do, watch Cheers.
MeTV Fresno, channel 43.6 and Xfinity 187.
Back here on the program with Scott Cain. Caller, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Yes, in response to your question you had on the screen there, I don't think the fee is going to help air quality at all. I mean, we have laws on the books, and we have our EPA protecting us and our fees on our cars and so forth. And we still get fined as a valley. We still get fined 250 days out of the year by the EPA for having dirty air. And a lot of that comes from dirty air from the Bay Area and so forth. Mm-hmm. And I guess my question to the gentleman is going to be, with this new tax here, this gas cap thing, are we going to be, does California plan on levying any type of tariffs on like China and India and so forth, these other industrial nations that make our big polluters and their pollutants come into North America and into our state as well? So are we going to do anything to stop that? Because, I mean, if we don't get other nations to come on board, then taxing Californians is useless.
Yeah, good question. Any tariffs on China?
That's a great point. One of my frustrations with this is, yes, we all want clean air, but if California imposes fees to the limit and taxes to the limit to clean our air, we're a part of a much bigger global economy. And if China does not stop polluting,
or San Francisco,
then what impact are we really having on the climate?
It's all going to come this way.
Exactly. So we end up bearing the brunt and subsidizing essentially the pollution in the other parts of the world.
Yeah. Caller, you're still there. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Scott. I apologize.
Yeah, so really what Californians are doing is we're paying to clean everybody else's dirty air, including other countries, which is, I think, is totally, irresponsible and unfair for not only just Californians, but for Americans as a whole.
Yeah. Okay, thanks for the call. I appreciate it. You want to pick up on that point?
Well, yeah, and that's, like I said, we all want clean air. However, is this the time or the place to impose another fee on the backs of the consumer at a time when the California economy is just starting to come out of the doldrums?
Yeah.
To me, that's an issue.
Another piece of videotape I want to roll. It's the trucking number 2, and I want to ask you about truckers. And here's an email question as we roll that videotape. Is diesel fuel more expensive in California than any other state? And if so, why?
I can't speak to that directly because I don't know what the price of diesel is in other states. Okay. My gut feeling is that it's higher because I do know for a fact that our gasoline prices are higher than surrounding states.
Right.
Part of that is due to taxes. Different states have different taxes on gas. But I do know that we have special fuel requirements in the state of California for gasoline and diesel. We use ultra-low sulfur diesel. And that fuel is
down.
Exactly, and that fuel is not made everywhere, and that makes us more subject to price fluctuations than surrounding states.
Is that part of the excise tax?
No, that's not part of the excise tax. That's just in the formulation of the fuel.
Okay.
We have cleaner fuels here in California than surrounding states.
By law.
By law, by CARB, California Air Resource Board.
Right.
And therefore, our prices, there's no free lunch. You want cleaner formulated fuels, we're going to pay for it. And we do pay higher prices than surrounding states.
So what do they have to do to the fuel in order to use it here in California as opposed to Nevada? What has to be done to the fuel?
Well, for
whether
instance,
it be diesel or gas.
For instance, California Air Resource Board governs the formulation of gasoline.
What do they do to it to make it burn cleaner in cars or trucks?
Well, one of the things I know they do is they remove the sulfur from it because that is a pollutant. But to do that and to make the gasoline cleaner burning and less volatile, less likely to evaporate and pollute the air, it requires a special formulation of gasoline, and that gasoline is only made in the 12 or 14 refineries in the state of California. So if any of those refineries have a hiccup, for instance a fire like happened in Chevron a few years ago, gasoline spiked almost immediately $1 a gallon, and it's because we can't suddenly import Nevada's gasoline into the state to make up for the loss of Chevron.
Doesn't meet our requirements.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so we see these huge price fluctuations, which are not going to go away, even though gas prices are now at $2.49 a gallon.
Almost makes you want to move, doesn't it? Okay, caller, go ahead. You're on the air with Scott Cain. Caller, go ahead.
Hey, what's going on? Hope you guys are doing great on this great Wednesday. Here's my question to you for the California Resource Board. I noticed that all of our air in the Central Valley has a lot to do with Northern and Southern California. I think if they worked more on the roads and getting those roads set up with those borders, then a lot of our cars would have so much trouble. Am I right?
I broke off a little bit.
Repeat the question real quick. Sir, you've got to turn down your television set. Sir, are you there?
Oops.
I guess we lost him.
My question is,
okay,
if we worked more on the road and getting these truckers with the quality of the air, do you think that traveling would be a little bit better in California?
Okay, that's fine. Thank you. Go ahead.
So if fixing the roads will improve travel, that's been another one of my pet peeves, because in my business, I literally see a lot of the money that goes to the state that's supposed to maintain our roads. And for instance, that 36-cent state excise tax, that supposedly goes into a fund that's supposed to improve our roads. Yet why is it when I travel in other states, their roads are much better than ours?
Yeah.
And that's a personal irritant of mine. What's happening to this funding, and why is our infrastructure not up to snuff compared to surrounding states?
Seems like our infrastructure is falling apart to a certain extent. Our roads and highways, like Steve Brandow said yesterday, we need to improve some of our roads and highways before we talk about high-speed rail. I'll talk to you about high-speed rail in a moment. I do want to show some video of people pumping gas, and at the gas pump, at the gas lines. And remember I don't know if you were around in the I guess you were in the 70s, right? Remember the long gas lines in the early 70s? They said, "Oh, we're running out of oil." Remember that?
Oh, I remember sitting in, having a teacher tell me that we were going to run out of oil by now. The world is supposed to be completely depleted of oil right now. I guess that's
what I heard in school too.
Exactly.
I know, they told us a lie.
We were supposed to run out of food and oil by this time.
Oh my goodness. So here's another email question. If crude oil is half the price it was 6 months ago, why isn't gas at the pump half the price that it was 6 months ago?
That's a great question.
I don't know.
And we have the answer because there's still 60 cents a gallon or more in taxes and fees in the current price, and that stays fixed whether gas is $5 a gallon or $1 a gallon.
It's the taxes and fees of California that keep these gas prices up. Am I right?
That is a true statement.
A caller, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Do you think that the hidden gas tax will jump when we switch to the summer blend versus the winter blend?
No, the cap and trade fees and the market for the cap and trade are separate from the blends of gas. Now, it's more expensive to blend the summer blend, so prices are going to go up, but the cap and trade is just going to be in addition to that.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. You know, I want to roll some more videotape. I want to show an oil barge. And we're looking at the people at the gas lines right there. But I want to ask you, since you're in the business and you know, and I do also want to ask you how this is affecting your business. Crude oil, we've seen, as I've stated on this program, 2 or 3 times now, a barrel of oil is now below $50 a gallon, or a barrel, I should say. Why is it dropping so fast? Why has it dropped just completely out of the sky in terms of pricing?
That's a great question, and I love the economics behind it, because what's happening is that oil that we were supposed to run out of by now, suddenly the U.S. has found vast amounts of oil in the Bakken field in the Dakotas. There's tar sands in Canada, and as oil prices rose, it made extracting that oil economically viable. And so suddenly the U.S., which was not a world player in oil markets, is going to be a net oil exporter, if not soon, very soon.
So we're not having to go overseas like what we're looking at here, maybe, in getting our oil from either, the Arab countries or elsewhere.
Yes, theoretically, we could be energy independent in the coming years.
Is that why the barrel is dropping, the price of a barrel?
That's exactly right. This is unanticipated supply coming to the market.
From the Midwest.
Exactly.
No less.
And OPEC is literally falling apart before our eyes.
Are they panicking at OPEC right now?
I'm certain they are. In fact, they're using now $60 a barrel for their budget for 2015. Which indicates that they expect crude oil prices to stay low in the foreseeable future. And it's because of this added supplies from places like the Midwest. And OPEC is actually trying to punish our producers by not reducing their output. It's driving the price low so that it will hurt U.S. producers and and hopefully prevent them from drilling for more oil.
A quick question here before I go to break. Why is it affecting the stock market, from what I'm reading and hearing?
Well, the stock market appreciates lower oil prices, but there's fear that oil prices will fall too much, and then those economies throughout the world, like the Soviet Union, the Middle East, will then it'll have a huge economic impact there that will trickle around and eventually come back and bite us.
Oh, so they're talking about the world economy.
Yes, exactly.
A major effect on that, more so than here. So we're happy it's down, but worldwide it could affect the world economy.
Yes, exactly. And we're all tied together, especially the oil market. It's a world market, not just a national market.
All right, Scott Cain from West Hills Fuels Incorporated here in the Central Valley is here. Question of the day, let's put that up one more time before we go to break. Hey, the cap and trade, AB 32, is it going to go towards cleaning the air in Fresno, the Central Valley? Do you believe it will? I don't know. 436-MeTV, option 11. Back in just a moment.
This fall, there is a place, familiar and inviting, timeless and warm. MeTV, a place all your own that you can call home.
Hi, honey, I'm home.
This fall, home is where you'll find me.
You mean to tell me that's all there is to it?
That's all.
Me TV Fresno, channel 43.6 and Xfinity 187.
Frigidaire. It means the first electric refrigerator. The first compact electric range. Now, there's the Frigidaire Gallery Range with Symmetry double ovens. It's designed to cook multiple dishes at multiple temperatures, so you can prepare the entire meal at the same time. Frigidaire, over 90 years of legendary innovation.
See the full line of Frigidaire appliances at Ventura TV Electronics and Appliances.
All right, apparently things are booming in the Midwest, and Scott Cain is here from West Hills Fuels Incorporated. So in the Midwest, is it like the gold rush of the 1840s, 1850s?
Apparently so. There's just been tremendous drilling activity, and you've heard of the fracking.
Oh, of course.
That's released a lot of the shale oil into production. And there was so much production that it was overwhelming the tankage and supply points in Cushing, Oklahoma, and it was causing the price of West Texas Intermediate crude to be much below Brent crude, which is the European standard. And there was like a $10 premium for Brent crude versus WTI crude. And the market had never seen that before.
Is this a good thing for us, so we don't have to compete with the Middle East or any of the other Arab countries, or even Venezuela or any
well,
place
you and
else?
I were talking about the 70s. I was fearful as a young man that that we were going to run out of oil.
And the U.S. was going to go dark.
Exactly. And so now we have a chance to free ourselves from the bondage of the Middle East. And who could be against that?
Yeah. Caller, you're on the air. Go ahead.
I'm wondering if this cap tax here has changed the way that they post the prices for the gasoline. I went to Valero the other night, and it said $2.44 for unleaded, and the lowest price that was on the tank was $2.55.9. So there was no $2.44 that was priced on the sign outside. Have we changed the way we post the signs?
To my knowledge, there's been no. Some oil companies are trying to report the cap and trade as a separate line item.
Oh.
And Valero, you mentioned Valero. I don't know what they're doing with their pricing at their stations, because they were one of the refineries that were going to continue to have the cap and trade as a separate line item. So I can't address what they're. I think to make it more transparent. Hey, let's show on our invoice or whatever the price.
More deception?
Well, I don't know. There's been the oil market has been trying to figure out how to deal with this AB 32.
Right.
Because the problem about posting a cap and trade value is it changes every day. It's based on a market for pollution credits that's going on over here, and that prices changes every day. So now, if you wanted to post a cap and trade, you're going to have a changing price and a changing cap and trade price. Talk about confusing for the consumer.
So to answer the lady's question, we're not sure how it's changed, how AB 32 or cap and trade has changed the postings of certain prices of gas, right?
Exactly.
It varies. So there's no standard rule in California that you have to post it a certain way.
Exactly. So it'll be interesting to see how this all,
plays
out in the marketplace.
Yeah. I want to ask you, as we roll some more videotape here, talking about gas prices and talking about your company, how has AB 32, or how will it affect your company, since you supply fuels for farmers and trucking, the trucking industry? Will it affect you financially, or you don't know yet?
Clearly, it'll affect everyone financially. My trucks that go down the road delivering fuel to customers run on diesel, as I've said. So now I'm paying, whether I see it or not, 13 cents a gallon every time I fill up my trucks. So that's an expense that I, as a business owner, am going to pay. And then you have
to swallow that?
Of course, when every time I fill up a truck, I'm paying that 13 extra cents to put the diesel in my trucks. That, in essence, is causing my fuel bill to go up by 13 cents a gallon.
But that 13 cents has to be passed on to somebody. Eventually, will it reach us?
Oh, exactly. You know, businesses are in business to make a profit. So to make a profit, yes, I've got to sell my product for more than the expenses incurred in bringing that product to market.
And is it more and more difficult in the state of California to make a profit as a business owner?
Oh, far and away. The regulatory burden, you might as well take my trucks out of commission for an entire month because I have to do a vapor test on the trucks. I have to do a smoke test on the truck. I have to do a meter test on the trucks. I have to do umpty, and all those
require... You've got a list that's about this long, huh?
Exactly.
It's like a checklist.
And it's a complete regulatory burden that is getting more and more difficult to bear.
Yeah. Well, Scott, we got to take another break here on Connect with Me. Glad you're along. And that woman, that previous caller, brought up a very interesting question about the postings of the gas prices. You know, I guess various stations, whether it be Arco, Shell, Chevron, Valero, they can use different types of pricing, right? That's pretty much it.
That I'm not sure on the retail end as much what their
and how they
rules
post their
are
signs.
Regarding what the laws are regarding the posting of their price, but it does bring up a interesting dilemma for those service stations that want to have the cap and trade as a separate from the price.
And how they want to hide that.
What price do you post up there?
Yeah.
You post $2.49 and then you get billed for $2.59 because cap and trade is 10 cents. That's going to irritate the caller that just called in.
Yeah, it's going to irritate the consumer, basically.
Exactly.
All right. 436-ME-TV, option 11. We're back here on our program in a moment.
It's almost time.
Now we'll find out once and for all about Clark Kent, Superman.
Look up in the sky. It's a bird. It's a plane. It's a TV show.
Yes, but who is he? What's his name?
He's Superman.
Golly, Clark, won't that be wonderful seeing Superman?
Fighting a never-ending battle for truth, justice, and television the Me TV way.
No one can do the things that Superman does.
The Adventures of Superman.
Now on Me TV Fresno, Xfinity 187.
Frigidaire. It means the first refrigerator. It means a history of innovations that help make your home life better. And now we introduce the new Frigidaire French door refrigerator with over 100 ways to organize for maximum flexibility. Built with adjustable flip-up and slide-under shelving and stackable crisper drawers. It's the refrigerator that flexes to fit it all, no matter what your day will bring. Frigidaire, over 90 years of legendary innovation.
See the full line of Frigidaire appliances at Ventura TV Electronics and Appliances.
So, is this tax going to clean up the air here in the city of Fresno? Is that a false narrative created by the Air Resources Board and the politicians here in the state of California? Another email question for Scott Cain. Scott, an email viewer wants to know, falling worldwide crude prices, can it lead to political destabilization?
Excellent question. It definitely can lead to destabilization, and that's why the stock market is reacting negatively to falling crude prices.
Can it destabilize governments like Russia, the Middle East, and even our country?
I don't think it's destabilizing to us in regard to if these other countries become destabilized. Clearly, the Soviet Union is suffering right now. Mm-hmm. We've got economic sanctions involved, and now we've got the crude oil falling. That's going to dramatically impact their budgets in the Soviet Union, as well as the Middle East and Venezuela. You know, Venezuela is another one of those countries that could easily be destabilized by these falling prices.
Put up a graphic up on the screen. The gas tax money expected to raise anywhere from $1.5 to $2 billion for the state of California. Okay, they could use that money to close the gap in terms of the rich and poor, maybe. They could use that money. I mean, you could make an argument for that. I'm not saying that's what they should do. You could end the debt here in California. We could be in the black if you want to use that money, because we're in debt by what, 20, well, no, you can't use that money because we're in debt by 20 billion or more, or maybe even 40 billion. I've heard varying prices, but you could do so much with that $2 billion here in the state of California. If it were up to you and they gave you a magic wand, what would you use that money for?
Oh, clearly, without a doubt, I'd return it to the consumers.
You would?
That impacts our economic activity more than any government entity could ever do.
Because those consumers would have more money in their hands to spend.
On whatever they want.
Right, buying a new car, whatever, and it helps your business, it helps every business when people spend money.
Exactly. It's about 70 consumers doing the things that they do on a day-to-day basis, buying goods and services, amount to about 70%, 70 to 75% of our economic activity.
Yeah.
So the more disposable income you can put in the consumer's hands, the better.
Yeah, that's amazing that it could raise that much money in a span of just a few years. You know, $2 billion is a lot of money, even for the state of California. And let me ask you about your business per se. Why is it that you got into this business to begin with? I know your father-in-law started the company that you mentioned at the beginning of the program, but now you're overseeing that company with a separate company of your own. Why this business for you?
I guess you have to go back to the early 90s when I got my master's degree in economics from UC Davis and then taught at the Air Force Academy in Colorado Springs and then got out of the Air Force.
You were a member of the Air Force, right? United States Air Force?
Yes.
Great. What years?
I graduated in 1984 from the Air Force Academy and then got out in 1992.
You served overseas at all or no?
Nope, it was
Just
all
here?
domestic. In systems acquisition, buying things for the Air Force.
But you learned how to fly, though.
No, I didn't learn how to fly.
Okay.
I would have probably stayed in the Air Force had I been able to fly, but I'm blind as a bat. So,
okay, so you weren't
that
able to
wasn't an
fly,
option. Yeah, my buddies were flying F-16 and I was manning a desk. So
it's okay.
Yeah, exactly. But anyways, when I got out, the economy was in the doldrums, very much like the Great Recession. And what I really wanted to do was teach economics. But the jobs were not there, the teaching jobs were not there, and so this seemed to be the next best alternative was to work in the family business.
You're glad you did it?
Oh yeah, I've enjoyed it. The farmers and the businesses that I deal on the west side of the valley, bar none, the best people you'd ever want to do business with.
And we've only got a couple of minutes left, and 1 minute left. Quickly, in 30 seconds, I didn't even ask you, we had an entire hour here to talk about it, but how is this going to affect the farmers, this cap and trade, AB 32? 30 seconds.
Well, it's going to increase the cost of doing their business, which is running tractors and diesel equipment is going to be more expensive as a result of this, and that's going to be passed along into the crops and products that they grow, which is ultimately then going to impact the consumers at the supermarket.
Right. Scott Cain, it was a pleasure having you here on the program today on Connect with Me. I hope you come back sometime.
Thank you.
We can have you as our oil energy expert here.
All right, thank you very much.
I appreciate it. Scott,
Nice
thank you.
meeting you.
Happy New Year to you.
Yeah, you too.
All right, Scott Cain, one of the good guys here on Connect with Me from West Hills Fuels Incorporated. That's going to do it for us today here on Connect with Me. We've run out of time on Me TV Fresno. Back tomorrow with another edition. Hey, tomorrow we're going to talk to an auto mechanic. Kind of fitting, you know, everything kind of ties in here. Anyway, see you tomorrow. Have a great day and stay safe.